Hello, welcome to How I See It. I'm your host, Robert Shoemake. This is a show about accessible technology and how it can be used. Today on the show, I have with me a colleague of mine, Deborah Jones, who is a system analyst and a person who has been very helpful to me when using this accessible technology that I use. Welcome, Deborah.
Thank you, Robert.
And what we're just going to basically talk about today is some of the technology that I use and other technology that's available out there on apps, software, and even hardware that you could use in your everyday life to help you in whatever you choose to do. First of all, I would like to ask Deborah if she would just basically talk about some of the technology that you have worked with me on with the screen reader JAWS and the iPhone, the voiceover. So can you give a small description of each one and how I've used it in the past?
Sure. So currently, Robert, you've been using JAWS, and JAWS has allowed you to interact in your day-to-day work, create your emails, create your documents, and by way of the software, being able to speak back to you and let you know what you've typed to speak to you, what your emails are. So that basic text to voice has been a great benefit for you. And the software itself is kind of cutting technology that will allow someone who may have a visual limitation to interact in a day-to-day opportunity so they can communicate. So you can communicate and you can receive communication because the software is smart enough to provide you all the details and information in any document, whether it be electronic, as well as you're also using the scanning software. What is that?
Open book.
Right, Open Book. So Open Book is still, that's another product as well, that it's a scanning software, but for anything that's on paper and not already electronic, that software allows you to have your emails read to you, to have any document read to you so that you're familiar with what that communication involves.
And I would also just like to mention that although JAWS and Open Book were primarily created for people with visual impairments and who are blind, it also works well for people who are print impaired, who don't read typical print for whatever reason, or have dyslexia or difficulty just reading.
That's right. So these products end up having a greater value than to someone who may have an actual visual limitation.
Yes.
And then we have the voiceover on the Apple devices. And voiceover, I learn a lot from you, as I've always said, just simply watching how you use the product. And the fact that you can tell your Apple device, whether it's an iPhone or an iPad or any other Apple device, that if you want to make a phone call to someone, you can simply put yourself in a recorder mode and just ask the device to call Deborah. Or you can also ask it to make an appointment on Monday at 1 p.m. and it sets up your calendar.
And once again, this is something that not only can someone with a visual impairment, but no matter what your disability was, You don't even have to have a
With this-
disability.
right. So
I know sighted people who use it.
Correct.
So,
correct. So
Um,
it's valuable to someone with abilities or with the right. So I find myself more, so I probably use it more now, watching you use it, because actually just recently I needed a document that someone had in hard copy, but virtually they were somewhere else. And rather than
Mhm.
typing it myself, I actually asked that person to speak the details of that document into a notes file. And they did that, so that was a real convenience, because within 10 minutes, I had a document that already had all of the details in it.
Mhm.
So this technology now is beneficial to someone with disabilities, but also for people who have many abilities. And it's an all-inclusive product. More and more people are sharing it.
Right. And it's cutting edge. It's very, there's millions of things that you can do. There's more and more things coming out every day. There's one app that I know a lot of people who are visually impaired, people who have autism they're beginning to use the GPS apps that you can download. A lot of them are free. Some of them have charges with them. But they allow you to do what they call turn-by-turn navigation, which means you can walk down the street, and every 10, 15, 20 feet, it'll give you a feedback of where you are, what street you're on, what direction you're in, so it can be very, very specific to whatever your needs may be. And that's just one of the apps. And we'll probably discuss it in more detail at another show.
And I think all in all, what we're finding out is that basically there are many apps that exist now that will help not only people who may have a disability, but they are apps that are across the board. And as time goes on, we began to share those. And what's nice about them, they're common day-to-day apps that just simply, they're assistive apps. So they're assistive to everyone. Your calendaring features to organize your day, your phone features, your GPS, I'm going to McDonald's, etc. And they exist and they can be used.
It's incredible. I mean, I'm old school, so I've been around for a while. And just to think 20, 30 years ago, this technology wasn't even available. And now, a person with a disability, no matter what the disability is, there is some kind of assistive technology that can help them. It's all about trying to find it, apply it to your life. So in the future, on future shows, we're going to have some guests that are from different areas of life. So please stay tuned on a monthly basis and check the show out. I'll have all kinds of information for you. And thanks for being a part of the show.